IVM.
Hey everybody, welcome to another rebroadcast of Shunya One. Today we're going to be going back to an episode we did a little over a year ago with Rahul Dhingra. Rahul is the founder of technology at the Bar Stock Exchange. He's also worked on a few other bars and technology pieces around that. We're going to have an interesting conversation with him around the idea of hospitality in the tech space. And with that, let's get started.
All right, welcome to Shunya One. Today we are talking to Rahul Dhingra. How are you doing, Rahul?
I'm doing great.
It's so great to see you. Rahul's been a great friend for a long time, and he's actually been doing a bunch of stuff just like all us oldies in the techie business.
Call yourself oldie,
But I would love to hear, and for everyone else listening in, why don't you tell us your story? Because I know you're doing some really cool things now, but before that, before you were the guy who built out all the tech behind stuff like Bar Stock Exchange, Agent Jacks, and now your newest restaurant. How's this journey been?
Well, the journey's been quite cliched. I started off as a programmer back in the day when I was probably age 10. And I know that's kind of cliche, but that's true. I think a lot of people share that, same feeling because we do start early. I think all tech guys who start early end up with success when they're 35. I kind of programmed back in the day on BASIC, on, really, really cool hardware like 8085 processors, etc. And then at some point, I was, my first job was a software engineer. And I was, an intern in a company which was not in a software company. I was working in a telecom call center as a software developer. Wow. But, I kind of moved up the chain pretty fast from there. And, if it's really in you and you start building out cool stuff, people notice. And I think in 6 years, I was heading the IT in that company with some 80 people under me. Nice. And that was a good achievement. I was proud of that. I'm probably proud of that the most. And then in 2009, once you move up the chain and there's only so much to do, you want to explore. And that's when, coming from a business family, I wanted to do something of my own. I started a company called Auris IT Solutions, and that was the tech company. We, again, cliched, we were a garage startup. We started in my father's garage, literally.
Wow. Your father had a garage. Let us talk about that. Your father had a garage in Mumbai.
I did mention I came from a business family. Come on. So you got to give me that. And so I kind of took one of my, programmers, very good friends then. And we used to work nights. So we used to work in the day at the company. And then, I shouldn't be saying this, but we used to work in the night for freelancing work, projects, etc. Trying to make some money as well as exploring the space. So I remember a couple of nights, we worked in the day at the job, probably at 9 in the morning we were at the job, back home at 8, take a quick break, and then 8:30 we're back to working on our
computers,
and we've gone up till 5 in the morning, and then the next day we're back at 9.
Wow.
But that's the kind of,
dedication. I've done this. I have done this. I'm sure Amit has done this.
It's not unfamiliar.
Yeah.
I'd believe you, but Sheila. I don't even know I did that. So, I'll tell you, I think dedication is one of those things which is a little underrated. I think that is the only thing which really gets you out there to do anything big in your life. In my opinion, that's my personal learning. So, we kind of did a lot of websites, apps, etc. Early in the day, we worked with the biggest brands at some point. So we grew from just being 2 in a garage to 120 people in a formal office, beautiful space, enterprise. We're doing big accounts. We're working with Vijay Sales, Inox. We're working with all the biggest startups back in the day. And that kind of got monotonous at some point. So we were looking for our exit. Everybody who's done any sort of software services eventually is dreaming of one product that they can build.
Yes.
And then that's like the thing which will get you out there and it'll be all yours and that's what you do all your life, etc.
Yeah, because services gets to you.
It gets to us. It gets to us. I think, services is a good space, but it also limits your creativity because you're doing stuff for others and then you're now kind of building their dreams.
Right.
And that's cool. At some point you're making money off that, so you should be happy doing that and satisfied doing that. But it kind of kills your dream.
And you also have to have that making money part of the equation working correctly.
Man, that really drives you. As we grew, we kind of happy about the growth, but you really think about we went from 2 to 8. We were working in the 8-bit space, so it was 2 people, 8 people, 16 people, 32 people, and we went up, above 100, and then Then at that point, we realized we're more of an HR company than we are a IT company, and that gets really tough. So, people who, and I'm just saying that people who really like to do what they do in program and build some cool stuff, sometimes it's good to work for the other guys because, you may not have all that. I mean, your dream is to build the right product, but building the right product also needs a lot of resources, which means you need funds, you need people, you need access to newer technology, hardware, software licenses, so on and so forth. So the costs kind of ramp up, and then you're not really building a product; you're just trying to get money to do everything, and that kind of kills you from That's one of the reasons I think most of the products or most of the software guys who want to build a company will fail at some point.
Right.
But the point I was making is that. Kind of building stuff for others is cool too. I don't think that should be, frowned upon
I
at all.
agree with that. But
I think it's great hands-on experience because unless you're given a challenge, right, you'll never know what the best tools are to overcome them. So,
well, if I add to that, my thought would be that when you're building stuff for others, you're also learning on their money.
yeah.
So your experience is now vast across. Like we worked across healthcare, we worked
Exactly.
e-commerce, we worked on core IT, we worked on movie business.
Yeah.
So many things that we did, right? So that gave us information about how things work across so many domains, and that kind of helps you build your idea as well.
I think that also is very valuable just in terms of your general experience and abilities. Like you're polymath in some ways at that point,
True.
right? You can start maybe not deep expertise, but you have knowledge about anything. You can talk about all these things effectively and intelligently, which is very helpful in most cases.
Also the cross-domain advantage, right?
Yeah.
You're learning something from one domain,
And you can
applying
then
it to the
over
other.
here. Yeah.
In fact, that's how I landed up in the hospitality space eventually.
Yeah, in fact, and by the way, for a core techie, right, it's very important to also know the business side of building a product.
True.
You should not be so in love with tech that you only focus on, I will spend all the money in the world I have to build out my dreams without knowing if it's going to be a business.
I think, but everybody's made that mistake, if you ask me. So we love something, we imagine that everybody's going to use it, and then we kind of deep dive into building it before we think or we ask others around us. I mean, I think I've done the same mistake where I've not even asked my friends, will you use it? And I just love it so much I built it. And the worst part is that excitement of building something unique and something you love is so high. I've done this like a year ago also. So it's still there. And in techies, we jump in really quick. We're very excited. I think the amount of excitement inside the tech space is so much higher than the other domains. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are really kind of, we're doing a podcast around it, right? Because people are super passionate about this stuff, much more so than bankers.
Yeah. But coming from services, how did that transition? Obviously, I know you guys were growing at a breakneck pace. You're doing so much work. What made you jump into this particular product which you chose to focus on?
So, as I said, the desire to build our first product was very high because we knew that services, while we grow it, would have limited margins, etc. And there's a lot of HR. We wanted to build something which was back just me and my partner, just us coding, us building it. And then that's the idea, that's when the idea of the Bar Stock Exchange came across. So we built that first time around in 2011. So a lot of people, don't know the reality or the story behind Bar Stock Exchange, but we've done it twice. It's not we got it wrong the first time.
Yeah.
But so we built it in 2011 when there were no smartphones.
Yep.
And the iPad was the only device which was portable for us, which we could do something on. I think everybody was carrying a BlackBerry. So trying to build a BlackBerry app, if you've done that, you'll know that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's not fun.
It's not fun. So we built it on the iPad, and then we hosted it in a hotel called, the Jew Hotel Bawa.
Yes.
And then we kind of tried
I knew about it back then.
Did you?
I, of course, know. I knew about
Through me.
Well, yes.
Right. So we built it on the iPads, and then we were trying, we had a huge projector screen in the restaurant. And then there was a central projector screen with all the prices varying. And then we should hand out iPads literally to every single table. We could afford only one per table, of course.
Of course.
So we gave up, we kind of gave one iPad per table, and everybody started trying to order. But it's clunky. Let's be practical. The UX around that is so clunky. I'm talking about not the design UX, but the user experience at the restaurant. You're expecting me now to call, and then of course iPads were expensive, so we had to keep taking them back. So we literally had to give the iPad, places the order, we take back the iPad. So the whole clunkiness of that probably is something that I would say would be one of the reasons why it did not take off to the success that we have today.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it's not just the clunkiness of that experience. I think people would kind of oversee that because of the coolness of that factor. I think the other issue was that we didn't really plan out the marketing. Again, we were techies meeting a bar owner who's already running a bar, converting his bar into a bar stock exchange.
Right.
And then we're expecting him to go ahead and market. And let's put it this way. We don't know who we work with, right? Eventually, is the person a great marketer? We really didn't choose. We were just focused on the tech. Again, excited. The tech is so cool, we'll call everybody. But then you need to get the word out there.
Right.
People need to know. So there was one Bombay Times article we did back in the day, and we thought that's it. This is how it's going to work. But that's not how it works. And then, we switched it to only Saturday night, and it died its eventual death. But we were very passionate about it. Bar Stock Exchange was something that we knew we will carry on forward, and we kept secretly building on it. And then came the time of the iPhones and Androids. And then, the day we bought our first iPhone, we're like, oh my God, if this takes off. And really, back in the smartphone space also, we didn't really know the iPhone's going to take off, right? We just knew it's cool.
Right.
So we were like, if this takes off, we take off with it. So we kind of built it again in 2013 mid. We started again building Bar Stock Exchange, this time around on mobile phones because Androids and iPhones were damn popular.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of were looking for a bar owner to do this with. We found one. In fact, that's the one who hosts the Bar Stock Exchange in Bombay. He's one of our many, many clients now. And then we kind of went out to him and said, hey, look, let's do this. And he said, look, it's done before, but I think it could work. He had a little bit more, thought to it and said, that it could work. So he was coming up with a new bar anyway and needed a new theme. So we kind of worked with him, and then we created the whole design. We in fact helped him with the entire interiors, etc. Because we were already doing a lot of branding design. So we knew this time around, if we didn't take control of every single way, the consumer experience.
Actual user experience, yeah.
So, I think 60%, 70% of our time we were back in the office building it. 30% of the time we were actually seeing the build out of the bar and making sure that designs are right. The TV screens, where are they going to get placed, where the server is going to get hosted, so on and so forth. So that kind of helped. I mean, really, I think, if I can give advice here, is that when you get into something, you'll have to really look at the entire 360 and not just the
not the
app
slice not the slice that you're interested in.
No,
you gotta look at the entire
actually you have to look at the entire thing. So 2014 November is when we launched Bar Stock Exchange in Bombay in Sakinaka. And I think it was an immediate success. People heard about it. I saw people coming from all over the city coming to the bar, experiencing it. Of course, you can imagine it was so much fun for us because as a true, anyone who builds tech, I think the best moment of that tech or that, for the person is about when the consumer is using it in front of him, right? So we saw a lot of people go crazy. Our servers crashed the third day in classic tech again. So we did have a lot of server crashes initially because we anticipated X number of users in the bar. And this is real-time tech. Think about it. You're a stock exchange. And FYI, the stock exchange was built like a stock exchange. So we were talking about we got in tech which is probably now easily available. Back in 2014 it wasn't, where the prices were changing across all screens. We tested 30-40 devices, and having them all change the price simultaneously is crazy. Back in, at least in 2014
it's a tough problem. So.
It's really tough. So we actually explored, I'd kind of worked with, not really worked with, but I had an explorative meeting with Sher Khan for some technology that they want, because we were doing services. So Sher Khan approached us. They gave us some insights on how real-time tech works in over a simple casual conversation. But that really gave us the light, and then we kind of followed that.
Yeah, because back then there was hardly any platforms. Also,
the
whole pub sub.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. No real-time stuff going on.
So in fact, I think we were the first ones who did pub sub commercially at this level in 2000. If you think about it, right? Because we thought we've hit a gold mine. Pub sub is the new thing to do, and it really worked. That was exactly the kind of tech we were using, and then. What we kind of saw was that people actually engaged with the app. They wanted to order via the app. They wanted to see the price change. I think the whole joy in that is about being able to see that you booked it at a certain price and your friend or your somebody on the other table is booking at a higher price. I think that's more fun than kind of getting a cheap price for yourself.
But the cheap prices are good too.
They're good too.
And I think till date, people still go and they come back with this feeling of I got a great deal,
I got a
right?
great deal.
So that itself is such a big win, right?
Yeah.
It's a UX win
It
or
is.
whatever
It
for
is
any
UX.
product.
Yeah.
So that delight factor, as you call it, right?
Yeah,
That
true.
Hey, listen, you get to save money drinking alcohol, or at least think you're saving money drinking alcohol. That is the best.
Exactly.
No, you're actually saving money for sure.
Yeah. Oh, no, you are. I know. I was at the CCI club last night, and I was over there, and I saw on their board they had the price of a small Chivas Regal. And I'm like, that's pretty good. And then I was like, you know what? I had just gone to Bar Stock Exchange like the week before. I'm like, I had the app. So I'm like, let me see what it was. And it was actually 40 rupees cheaper at Bar Stock Exchange than it was at CCI Club.
Wow.
So it's cheaper than club booze, man. I mean, like, that's just...
Yeah. But the funny thing, one of the reasons why we chose Bar Stock Exchange as a product, one of the biggest reasons was that we couldn't afford the alcohol in the other. so as any other techie, like, man, that's a good problem to solve.
Exactly.
But that was a good problem to solve.
Of course. And it did. It solved, like, now, since that one first Sakinaka outlet, I think it's gone ahead.
So I have
gone,
now 55 outlets. So the ones most of the people see are only in Bombay because you guys stay in
We're
Bombay.
in Bombay, yeah.
But we've got one Bar Stock Exchange in every part of the country. And they're all licensed by us and it's doing well. I mean, I think good. So we launched Gurgaon, we launched Calcutta, Hyderabad, we did Bangalore early. So in 2015, we were already, I think, 20 Bar Stock Exchanges in India.
Okay.
So Bar Stock Exchange in Bombay was around 4-5 outlets, but we were kind of moving at a more rapid pace.
Right.
So I can claim that I have one Bar Stock Exchange in every tier 1 and tier 2 city in the country, for sure.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And I'm now touching tier 3. I've just done Lucknow recently. So we're actually expanding further, and it's a good model.
It's become a SaaS sort of a platform, right? I mean, you just take the license from you, use the software, and make their own brand.
It's a SaaS platform, but then a lot of things go into it because then once you SaaS it, see, look, it's not like an e-commerce.
Of course.
It's not commodity. It's not like a commodity that I can really go out there and give it to 100,000 bars because then that takes away from the whole concept. So what we did is we kind of made sure that only few bars could have it, and then
So geographically restricted.
we restricted them with exclusivities, etc. And then that's turned out well, but it's no longer a tech product. We've gotten into the business now.
Do you guys consult in terms of like the restaurant openings and stuff like that
We
in
do,
the other
we do,
cities as
we
well?
do, we do.
Okay.
So we now actually do the entire end-to-end setup of the bar also.
Oh, wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
that's where your transition from software developer to restaurateur has happened.
This is true. I think while I'm a core techie at heart, I have moved on from being an IT company, let's say from being an engineer, then an IT company, and now we've maybe a restaurateur. Now we're like a whole enterprise hospitality
But
company.
even the other two formats that you're talking, they're also very tech
I'm
focused,
just
right?
I love doing. I think the restaurant space needs excitement, and if apps and tech can bring excitement, then that's the way forward.
So, you want to tell us about the other two?
Yeah, why not?
People know what they are.
So Bar Stock Exchange, one of the reasons why I think while I kind of spread that across India, I let people build their own brands individually. But there was no common central brand in the country. So you look at McDonald's or look at Applebee's in the US. All the brands are just one brand, one name, and across the country. And that kind of pinched us because we didn't think it through. Every techie does this again. So we didn't think it through. What is going to happen next day? We just get, hey, look, we're getting a bar. Let's go ahead. Let's kind of install this and let's make some money. They make money. Everybody's happy. But at some point we said, look, we need the whole brand and we need to control the bar owners. Just like an Uber platform is Uber in every city, and then they control how the behavior of each cab owner is and kind of bring quality. So we then came up with this concept called Agent Jack's Bar. That was the second bar brand, and this time around we did the whole bar brand. So we did our own bars. We actually did the entire concept, the branding, the design. In fact, today our hospitality company literally provides all sorts of franchising options. So we're now no different than a McDonald's, to be honest, except for a tech-enabled bar.
Oh, okay.
So with Agent Jack's Bar, what we do is that we give you the brand name, we give you the PR support, marketing support, we give you the tech, we give you literally every step, licensing of the bars, we do the furniture, we do the interior, we then set you up, and then we guide you all the way as a franchisee to run the entire show. So now I can not only work with bar owners, just like when I did in Bar Stock Exchange, we could only work with bar owners because we didn't know the space.
Right.
But today, we're able to actually take a newbie
Right.
into the business and then make
Someone
him a
who
barber.
just has a space and says, I want to run a restaurant.
Yeah.
Can
So
come
that's
to
why
you.
I've been talking to Sheila, trying to convert him. But see, guys with money, no?
No,
course.
not yet. Everyone talks about how retire with a restaurant and Goa or something
Well,
like
of
that.
course, that's everybody's dream.
But
isn't
I
it?
think so. I mean, I think F&B, and I don't know if it's just techies, but I think, food business, the restauranting business, I call it the equivalent to Bollywood. It's got a lot of glamour. And it's a tough space. It's as tough as all you techies of, your life is as, beeped up as mine. But the restauranting space is equally tough. There are limited margins. But I think if you really do well and then take it forward from there for a few years, you can be the boom.
Yeah.
And it's like Shah Rukh Khan is a boom for 5 years or 10 years, and then the new hero comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you can, instead of being the hero, try to create heroes, and that's what we're trying to do here. So with post the success of Bar Stock Exchange, we did Agent Jack's Bar. In fact, Agent Jack's Bar today is the bigger hero for me, because we've got I think 28 outlets already, and they're all in the pipeline, going live in different cities with a single common brand. I think I've never seen such a boom, because people approach us from places like Guwahati, people really, really, tier 3 cities, and I love those cities personally, because there's so much passion in those people contacting us, trying to get our brand in there. And Agent Jack's Bar also works on a model where it's affordable booze. I think it's the second brand where we've done with affordable alcohol. In fact, at many times of the day, you'll find Agent Jack is a cheaper option than BSE. No, most people don't know that.
Wow.
But let me tell all the techies, you can go drink at Agent Jack's instead. One of the reasons why it is because it's the first theme bar where you can negotiate prices of your own drinks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So-
you can bid for a price.
So imagine a virtual bartender. And,
Right.
No different than how I negotiate prices for everything. I'm an Indian, I want to negotiate.
Right.
You open the app and there's a mascot character who we call Agent Jack. And there's a whole backstory to that, which says that Agent Jack is this, we've created a comic strip around it. We're going to share it. Probably you want to share it on social media. And Agent Jack is basically sees this bootlegger truck of alcohol, moving, and he's like Batman spying it from really far. He jumps in, and classic boom bam comic strip, design, and then he catches those goons, takes the alcohol, goes back to his warehouse, and now suddenly he's the Robin Hood of alcohol. He's giving out to those who deserve it, all those techies who kind of want cheap booze. So of course he has to give it out fairly. So people using the app are now interacting with Agent Jack.
Right.
So I kind of tell Agent Jack, hey, look, I want my Kingfisher for $60. And Agent Jack will then respond if he likes the price, does not like the price, on some algorithm that we've written, which I don't want to share. Otherwise, you guys will rip me off. But, each of these responses are completely the humor based. So there's jokes that he's going to make, and he'll shame you publicly.
Okay.
And the best part is not just that. So he's responding to you one-on-one on the app, but we also have these giant projector screens in all the bars.
Okay.
And then people can read what people are offering and what they're being responded to, and these jokes are really, really fun.
Awesome.
He criticizes you based on how bad your price offer is. He can get really harsh sometimes. And then these are seasonal. We change them. Maybe during Valentine's Day he'll be flirty replies, and then on a Holi he'll have a different reply. And these jokes are also seasonal, event based. It's kind of the whole fun is to kind of interact with him.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's really awesome. See, again, the whole space of hospitality is about being current, being relevant, being contextual, and so on, right? And this is context in the real world. So I think it's a perfect blend of tech and, of course, drinking.
Cheap booze.
Cheap booze, which always works.
Yes,
Trust me, I have done this too.
I like cheap booze.
In fact, with Agent Jacks, one of the best things we did is we kind of inbuilt a loyalty program into it. So the cool thing was that you start negotiating with Agent Jack. He's smart. He's on the cloud. So he typically starts understanding who you are, how often you come, etc. We do analyze the data. And then we kind of don't need to let you register for a loyalty program. You log into the app and then you're registered.
Right.
So if you're coming often, his rates for you when you're offering a drink price could be different than what your friend is offering because he doesn't come that often.
Right.
So he automatically kind of biases towards people who are regular. and that's kind of cool because there's no real card or redemption that you need to do. It's automatic, and that's something that works. And people kind of figure that out pretty quickly.
People figure that out, or do you kind of make that explicit?
So in the app, we're trying to now express that, but believe me, till now we didn't get the time to express it, and people have figured it out. And there's different levels. And there's a trainee, there's a field agent, chief agent, and so on and so forth. You start off as a trainee, but the more you start drinking, the more often that you come in, your levels kind of change. So they kind of figured what's going on the screens. You can see people's names and what levels they're on, and how come he got a Kingfisher for like 16, I couldn't. So people kind of then explore, and it's been pretty organic.
That's cool.
Gamification works, I think, in the live environment more and more, and we are seeing other apps sort of adopt this and figure this out. So this is awesome. In fact, the last brand is also very interesting, and we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk some more about that.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. As I have asked you guys before, if you're finding what you listen to interesting, then please take a screenshot of what you're listening to, send us a note with it, tag us on social media. We'll either, talk about it, we'll take the feedback into consideration, or we'll repost it. We just really appreciate getting feedback like that, as do all of our hosts. Also, want to mention the fact that we're still hiring at the best place on earth to work in, which is the IVM Podcast Network. So if you're interested, please do send us an email to careers@indusvox.com. One other thing I wanted to mention, that this is the week of the crossover. We have not one, not two, not three, but 4 crossovers this week on the network. Hosts from one show are showing up on another. And so if you'd like to listen to your favorite host in a different context, stay tuned and find out where they appear. On The Seen and the Unseen, Amit Verma is joined by author Rahul Verma. They talk about the nature of political ideologies and how they hold up in an Indian context. On Advertising is Dead, the successful entrepreneur Ronnie Screwvala joins Varun to talk about being an outsider in the media industry and shares tips for budding entrepreneurs. On Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Janice and Anirudh talk about Season 3 of Stranger Things. They go over their favorite Easter eggs, that big plot twist in the finale, and what the future holds for the characters. On Equity Sahi Hai, we have the co-founder of Motilal Oswal Group himself, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal. He talked to Anupam about his fascinating journey from being a farmer's son in a small village to becoming a successful entrepreneur. This is a conversation well worth checking out. On the Empowering series, Zarina is joined by food blogger Prasen Patel, who is also the host of our Parsi food show Not Just Dhan Saag. Together, they talk about mompreneurs, finding a balance between work and motherhood, helicopter parenting, and more. On Marbles Lost and Found, Zan talks to the musician Nischay Parekh from Parekh and Singh. They talk about Nischay's decision to step away from music for the time being and focus on experiencing new things in life. On Tech Careers in the New, presented by Accenture, Shiladitya is joined by Saileja Bhagwatola, Managing Director of Salesforce at Accenture Technology. She talks about the Salesforce ecosystem and Accenture's role in it. On 9XM Soundcast, Eva Bhatt is joined by versatile singer Assis Kaur, who started her musical journey at the age of 5 by singing Gurbani. Assis has lent her voice to famous songs like Bolna from Kapoor & Sons, Tere Bin from Simba, and Ve Mahi from Kesari. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
All right, welcome back. And we've been talking to Rahul about a whole bunch of cool stuff and free booze.
The gamification of food tech.
Cheap booze.
Cheap booze.
Cheap booze, yes.
Well, leads to free booze. I did free booze, and that's why we didn't work out.
Let me repeat, cheap booze.
Cheap booze.
Cheap, inexpensive.
Yes. But listen, this is, obviously, while the concept has been around and it's growing and it's doing great, I think this is a whole era of real world gamification which we're sort of entering, right? And I think this year or since last year, the quizzing show, live quizzing has become a thing.
Oh yeah, that there have been a bunch of these places.
Exactly. Yeah. And now, and of course, before you talk about Quizzer, right? So as a concept, what do you think came around? What do you think you realized, or rather now we're seeing that the world is realizing about all the standard stuff we were doing, the usual social media which we were interacting with, very, very verbose sort of interactions. What led to this sort of live, real-time engagement becoming a big hype machine? And of course, tell us about your latest product venture.
So, I'll probably want to answer that question along with my third brand. In fact, you bring about a very important point, which was, kind of like the inception point for Quizzer. Mm-hmm. So let me introduce Quizzer first, and then I'll answer your question as well.
Sure.
So Quizzer is this new, it's India's first game-based restaurant. Just like, we had Bar Stock Exchange, which eventually is a game. Mm-hmm. So I call it India's first, game-based bar. Just the same way we have Quizzo, which is India's first game-based restaurant. And what we kind of do here is that people come in. We're targeting, let's say, families, right? Let's say we're a group of 6 people, 7 people. You bring in your family. I think what I noticed is that everybody on the table would be on their own cell phones. So suddenly family dinners got robotic. Yeah. I have a big family. We have a joint family, and then my niece is on her phone. My mom's on her phone, my dad's on his phone, and then everybody's on their phone. So I'm like, what the hell's going on, and how do I fix this? Again, one of those points like, look, this seems to be a problem, let's try and fix this. And, to kind of fix that, we said, like, how do we get them to get together and do something instead of just simply being on their phones? So the restaurant experience is about coming together and spending time. Certainly with technology and phones, people are kind of doing their own thing while they're in the restaurant. So the whole point of going to a restaurant is kind of going away, because you could do that at home in your own rooms and have dinner in your own rooms. So with Quizzo, the inception point was that people came in as families, joined in. They ordered via the iPad or rather a tablet that we gave them. So this time around, they were ordering together. The first problem that we fixed was that we gave them synced iPads. So everybody who if there are 5 people, we would give 3 or 4 iPads or maybe 5 iPads. And every time someone kind of visually saw what they want to order and click add, the other iPads would show what the other person's ordered. So they don't need to discuss. They can just quickly go ahead and order together, but they're still discussing at some level. And then immediately after that, we gamify the experience. We're saying that we start a quiz game and it pops up 5 questions. Each question is worth 5% discount. So let's say we ordered a bill of 1,000 rupees as a family. We're now playing together. The same question pops up on all 5 screens. So we all leave our phones aside and we're trying to get the discount. We suddenly ganged up against the restaurant as a family.
Wow.
So now someone knows some topic. The niece would know, a topic around maybe a cartoon character, which could be a question that we kind of pose. If it's a very, let's say, Sanskrit question, then we have our, grandpa and grandmom answering. Right. If it's more of a current event, maybe, one of the, father or mother could answer. So suddenly, the whole focus was about creating a beautiful experience where people get together and then go against the restaurant. Even if it means that they have to go against us to win that discount and we need to give that discount, the beauty is what you see on the table. Suddenly people aren't on their phones, they're on the tablet. They're still on the tablet, so it's still tech, I understand that. But the beauty is that they're getting together to play something. Right. We couldn't even do that with board games. A lot of the restaurants and bars tried board games, but no one really takes that seriously, because you get that at home. Here's an experience where you're dining together, you're now playing together, and then at some point you're trying to win this. So there's a lot of some beautiful memories we've created already. We've seen that in the restaurants, that 2 kids fighting, hey, why did you answer that? We lost 5% because of you. or a wife telling the husband, like, if I knew you didn't know crap, I wouldn't marry you. So it is a beautiful
I'm guessing also it kind of promotes beyond just interaction around the quiz, right? The quiz becomes a jumping off point so that people are conversing and interacting with each other.
So think about it. When we were on the design board trying to create this brand, we said that what is the memory that a restaurant leaves on the family? Good food. But then how many restaurants give you good food today? Lots of them are working. I mean, chicken tikka is the same across all restaurants now. Do we agree on that? Right? Almost the same. Let's say almost the same.
There's some which are better. Yeah, okay. But it's commoditized.
But it's commoditized. So what we want to do is that when they drive back home in their cars, what are they talking about our restaurant? Did they speak about it? But now here we have a quiz which they play multiple times. You play that on each time you order. Let's say a round of appetizers, you play the game. When you order the main course, you play the game. When you order desserts, you play the game.
Right.
So all those questions which popped up, imagine the family going back in their car saying, man, that question, only if I knew the right answer. Or someone saying, man, you should have known, that's so obvious. Right? So the whole experience is something that they take back.
Right.
In fact, we've just been open for a week, and I think I recognize some of the faces because they're coming again and again. So I know that I've got that right in terms of creating the right experience. But that's why technology has to be more human. I think if we just think about tech and a quiz, just a quiz is boring.
Right.
But when you see a quiz being played collectively by the whole table, it suddenly becomes interesting. If it becomes something which is intriguing and asking the right questions and someone's answering and people pointing fingers, it becomes even more exciting. So it's about creating experiences and not tech. And most of the devs out there, people like me, what they need to go beyond is what excites them. They need to see who the consumer is, and what excites them is what you really need to target.
Yeah, and that's exactly coming back to my point about how this sort of an experience, right, is such a change of the whole. Otherwise, personalization, look at your own phone and do things individually, which we've been seeing so far. And again, coming back to quizzing in general, which has suddenly emerged as a social category or something you do live, something you interact with. Like we have a bunch of these quiz games popping up.
There are a number of them that started. Salman Khan started one.
I don't know if he started
well,
one,
I mean,
but
like,
he was a host
he's
on
the
one.
host on one.
Yeah.
And now we were just talking about earlier about how the Hotstar app, the cricket has a game around it as a secondary game running. So I think there is something here. What do you think is what's the core thesis behind this? Why people like to quiz and win, and how come this has suddenly become a rage in the last 6 to months
I think
to a year?
it's gamification in general, and not necessarily say quizzing.
Mm-hmm.
So, with us getting so involved, there's so much to read online now. Think about it when we were kids, right? Now, here's where we get old. When we were kids, we didn't have access to, forget mobile phones or smartphones, we used to have access to hardly an access to, an encyclopedia, right? And how many times would you sit down and read that really? Yeah. So, with the access to smartphones, people have so much to consume, and that's kind of consuming us also at some deep level.
Yeah.
So what happens is that unless we gamify things, right, I think it's very difficult to get someone's attention and get him excited about doing something anymore. So we've reached a level where there's so many apps to do so many things, and each app is fighting the other, just like any other space in the world where it gets commoditized at some point, and then we'll try to fight for that person's attention. A game inherently, I think, is something which gets even the youngest kid excited and the oldest person excited.
Right.
So I think gamification is the future of getting people to do things and incentivizing them to do things. Think about Quizzer. The incentive there to play the game is about the discount. So that discount is the incentive, but the experience is eventually what gets their attention and then grabs them to come back to me all the time.
Yeah.
So gamification is a great foot forward in the space, and I think it'll last for the next few years. I think also the technology is kind of moving at a rapid pace to allow us to use gamification in a true sense. I mean, games were all about consoles at some point for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Now, getting that experience to the smartphone, I think that whole transition, while it's happened at a Candy Crush level, gamification is a little bit beyond that. Also adds a social element to it. So, Candy Crush was all about playing it yourself and then sharing points and then getting people to share stuff. I've never played Candy Crush, so that's just as much as I know. But
I played a lot of Candy Crush. A lot. More than any human being should.
Oh my God.
I got up to, I think, level 600 or something like that.
I don't even know what that means.
I have no idea.
Passed 600 levels of Candy Crush.
Okay. Well,
congratulations for that. And right, so I mean that's a lot of time you could have used for lots of other things.
Many
so
other things.
All the startups don't play Candy Crush because you're not going to be able to build your startup.
No, you will not.
Right. So what I'm saying is that I think gamification is a foot forward in the sense that you can kind of incentivize and get people to do things. So a smartphone today needs people to interact with it. If it's just a read only, we're probably trying to read a newspaper on the smartphone. But if you want people to interact, we need to give them reason to. Right? We need to give them reason to. And gamification just does just that, according to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through the whole era. I mean, again, since we talk about food tech and all these other tech eras that we went through in India, especially, right? And we went through the whole coupon era, right? I mean, at some level, it still exists.
We've been there, all of us.
So there was this whole couponing thing, loyalty, coupon, discount. That's the only incentive sort of people knew. Or even, to a large extent, even today, they only know this.
But you think about coupons, right? I mean, I'm a deal monger myself. I still look for coupons.
Exactly, we do.
I do too for everything.
So I think, coupon at some point was also a slight gamified experience. Go search the coupon online. I mean, that was a tough... I mean, people who knew the right keywords would get the better coupon.
Yes.
Think about it.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is absolutely true. I mean, I remember hunting. I still hunt for stuff.
Yeah, man. Literally, it's become a habit. Even $100 off somewhere.
Yeah.
Boss, who's ordered the last McDonald's burger without a 1+1? I don't know that guy.
I don't remember Uber and Ola, right? I mean, whoever gives me a coupon, that's the one. That's who I use that day.
Yeah, exactly. But that kind of deteriorates the brand. As today, beyond the tech, I'm also a brand owner. So I think the next step to that would be loyalty, and loyalty is very, very
hard
again, it's very
in
hard.
India.
Shiladitya could talk about this for 30 minutes right here. He's done some stuff in loyalty. But I think loyalty is important and will come to India at some point. I think we aped the West 5 to 10 years later.
Yeah.
I think loyalty is going to become important because a lot of people can give coupons, a lot of people can give free food, they can give a lot of discounts, but eventually it's going to boil down to what you love to eat and drink, and then that's where loyalty kind of kicks in.
So I would say that, you know what I mean, like one way that loyalty does kick in is with these longer term coupons, right? I mean, like if you look at Amazon Prime, what is that? That's essentially a long term coupon.
That's a good point.
So I mean, like, and now at this point, I used to love Flipkart, but since I've become an Amazon Prime member, I don't even check prices on Flipkart anymore.
Yeah, by default.
So, and I mean, if you think about it, the Uber Ride Pass thing that we keep talking about and stuff like that, right? So that's like you pay a monthly fee, and for that monthly fee, you get 50 rupees or 60 rupees or 70 rupees off every ride. That's the same kind of thing. When I have that Ride Pass, I consider that my monthly Uber coupon. So I think these long-term kind of...
it's loyalty. It's essentially you're buying a subscription as a loyalty.
Exactly,
You're doing it because you're loyal to the brand. But this whole element of gamification, right? I actually really like that point you made. That while loyalty and couponing and discount mongering, like even us, we're still doing it today, the gamification, even for a brief moment, sort of adds a little bit of a spark to the entire experience, right? You don't feel that, hey, I'm just doing this for the money. Right? There is some amount of, and especially when I'm doing it with more people, then it becomes a sort of a collective.
No, absolutely, Shiladitya. I think the experience, one of the core strategies for me is about creating an experience which is a memory. If I can create a memory for, like, let's say you guys visit the bar or the restaurant that I've created. Let's say you visit Quizzer. If I can leave you with a memory that would go down in your books and, even a year later, like, hey, that night was so fun. I think that's far bigger than all the coupons that I can kind of, give out there. Think about it.
Yeah, I think so. From a restaurant perspective, that's what you wind up doing, right? You go to the restaurants which you enjoy the most.
See, I'm saying it's a little deeper than that because I've created one event in your life,
right,
which is a good memory that you have. I think that's a far bigger achievement.
And that's what I mean, right? I mean exactly that. You've created an experience which is going to lend itself towards creating memories. And the reason why that is because you're going to have a fun time over there, right? Fundamentally, that's what it is. You're going to have a fun time.
I can give you a quick example, right? I mean, there must be one time that you must have played a board game with some family members, and if you can go back and think about it, you might be like, hey, that was one fun night. The same way, I think Quizzer creates that one fun moment for the entire family, which they would probably want to remember for the next few months, if not the year. So I think that's something which is unique to what Quizzer is offering today. I mean, you can come and play a board game, but may not enjoy it as much as you would when you kind of gang up as a family trying to win that. I think I was sitting with a couple of reviewers yesterday, and people kept ordering the food just because they want to play the game, and that's where the catch is. By the way, that's where we make our money. But I think we've got a screen on Quizzer which shows you what questions are being answered by each table. A lot of the other tables were actually looking at those and saying, "Hey, I know that answer. Why don't I tell them?" So we had one table actually scream out the answer to the other table, and then I had to get up and say, "Boss, you guys are cheating. It's not fair." Right? But a lot of 50% discounts were won last night, and it was good. And one of the other experiences I had with Quizzer just last night is that we made up our mind that we're going to clap for everyone who wins a 50% discount.
Okay.
This was a full night. We had all tables kind of booked and seated on. And then one of these family kind of won 50%, and then I had instructed the staff that we'll all stand and we'll kind of give them a good clap.
Right.
Yeah.
We did that, and believe me, the entire restaurant started clapping. So you can realize how special that family felt at that point. It was something beautiful. So this is about where tech goes. Tech is just the enabler.
Right.
The experience that we create.
Exactly.
I mean, you talked about Amazon. How is it different, right? It's a tech, but eventually they give you a comfortable experience to get you something. In the restaurant space, I think we're trying to use tech to create great experiences.
Exactly. Same thing. I mean, Uber is what is tech beyond the booking?
Nothing.
It is essentially a cab.
Yeah.
But you have such affinity towards the brand because of how it treats you.
It just works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when it just works well, that itself is good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah.
Unfortunately, not true in the restaurant space.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I'm sure you've had your own set of struggles with technology while setting up in the real world? I know I have.
Strangely enough,
Yeah.
not so much, because honestly, we did. I was telling you, when we did Auris, we'd done 400 startups. I mean, when I say 400 startups, I mean we helped build the digital for 400 startups. So I think technology is the easiest part of our company now. The tougher parts is about creating those experiences. I think our monitoring and finding out if that really is going from a design board, converting to that real experience.
Right. Oh, and that's very important. Again, being able to, that's where I'm sure you're becoming more of a restaurateur than the technologist that you were.
I'll be
Because you
honest,
really have to know how things work.
That transition's happened. And probably one of the last pieces of advice I'd like to give out is that, see, look, if you're going to be a techie, and then you're going to get into a space, you're going to be you should transition into being the owner of that space.
Right.
If you're going to stay a techie, right? I mean, if you're just going to be delivering software, then it's like Shopify versus Magento. You're going to eventually get switched from.
Right.
But if you want to deep dive, you have to deep dive into that space like Uber, and then grab those literal cab owners and then make them yours, train them. If you don't give the whole 9 yards, your tech is eventually nothing but just a medium. The eventual outcome is a bigger business, and you need to, in fact, that's one good way of focusing on what the business is before you get into the actual tech.
Right.
That's an advice that I would give.
Oh, absolutely.
Buy it, 100% buy it.
Absolutely. And that's where, again, a solid startup, as we say, right? What is a startup? It's a small business that you start with potential to go crazy, right? That's why it's sort of the loose definition. But knowing your audience, which is what you did, again, really looking at that, I think that's a great insight about finding out what was wrong or broken or not enough as a restaurant goer, and then using tech to its best ability. I think that's what it is, right?
My point is that, yes, you absolutely said it right, that you're a techie who find a problem, you solve the problem. But this time around, I had to become the owner of the bar or the restaurant.
Right.
I think that's also an essential step for all techies. Eventually, if you're, let's say, an e-commerce company, if you open, you're great at making the website. Your website has a perfect experience. But eventually, you'll have to go into the financials. You'll have to go buy your inventory. You'll have to hire all the right people.
Warehousing.
Yeah. Eventually, an e-commerce company realistically is a logistics company.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. So you need to transition from one field to another, and that's something that I'm proud of having done. So now that I own these bars and restaurants that we're creating, and we're spreading across the country, I think, the good part is we have literally, I think, 70 plus total bars and restaurants already, and most of these are franchisees, and we're kind of moving that direction. But the transition is important. Is all I'm trying to tell all the techies out there, is that you can't just be a techie all your life. You have to move to becoming the business owner of that vertical.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's the only way to kind of make it, right? Otherwise, if you'll have a bunch of products like you were talking about, right? Things which you love, but then you abandon because you haven't really thought them through as a business. So, I mean, like, you do kind of have to look at
And there are lots of those.
Yeah, there are plenty of those. I've done plenty of those.
Awesome, man. So this has been great. I think we got some insights into the restaurant industry, and a different kind of food tech.
There you go. This is food tech, but it's actually...
This is actual food tech.
Well, it's actual... Is it food tech? It's experience tech around food.
Oh man,
I think it's food tech.
Well, what's food tech? I don't know what food tech is.
Food tech is
we
a
just
running
make
joke.
Fun of food tech. But this has been great, Rahul. I mean, before I let you go, tell people where they can find, obviously, Quizzer, because that's the newest one out there, and of course Agent Jacks and all these places, and of course how they can talk to you, maybe on Twitter or wherever else,
or at the event next week.
All right, so Quizzer just one outlet down. We're at Agent Jack, right next to Agent Jacks in Andheri, which is near Virya Desai Road. You can check us out on zomato.com/Quizzer. On Agent Jack's bar, I think we've got, as I said, 20 plus outlets, so you'll find us in almost all the metros at least. But Zomato, I think that's the easiest way to find us.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to come to that event for sure.
And how do they reach in touch with you on maybe like on Twitter or wherever else? Are you a hard person to find?
Oddly enough, I've tried my best to stay out of the limelight. I've been hiding, so I don't kind of interact directly on Twitter yet. I'd love to learn that from you, Sheila. I've not. I don't have a Twitter handle. I'm not there on Facebook as often.
Oh my
god!
But
I'd love to. I mean, I'm saying if this opens an interaction channel.
Well, you can. Rahul can join our Slack channel, and maybe you can ask him any questions.
You can probably find me on GitHub though.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
So GitHub, or alternatively the Slack channel, which you can get to at ivmpodcast.com/Shunya One. Over there's a button. Click that button, ask for an invite, and we'll send you an invitation to the Slack channel. Also, just a quick reminder, please, guys, 5-star reviews on iTunes or wherever, TuneIn, or wherever you're listening to the podcast. A review, rating, all of that stuff helps, and it really kind of does move the word about the show. And one last thing, please tell a friend if you enjoyed the show. Tell a friend that you like the show, especially if you know another techie friend. Let them know that this is a show that they should listen to.
Yep, and like we said at the start, please do join us for our Shunya One 50th live event.
Yes.
Next week. WeWork, BKC. And with a lot of fun guests, there'll be founders, there'll be VCs.
Did we say the date? It's the 19th.
And it's on the 19th.
Just in case, yeah.
It's on the 19th.
Yeah, 19th of April, 2018. Just in case somebody's listening to this 3 years from now.
Yes. It should be fun. Please come. We will, there will be some booze too.
Yes, there will.
Yes.
Maybe
Not sponsored by me. Yeah.
Not sponsored by you? Okay, all right.
But you might get to know how the insides of all the places work if you catch Rahul there. And he might tell you some, maybe some cheat codes for Bar Stock Exchange.
Maybe.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening. Look forward to seeing everyone at the live event and on the other side of 50.
Yes.
Are you looking for India's most awesome cricket podcast? Are you now tired of listening to the same old guys drone on about cricket everywhere? Edges and Sledges is a weekly cricket podcast hosted by 3 fans of the game, Varun, DJ, and myself, Ashwin. It was established in early 2018, has over 60 episodes now, and is of course now proud to be on the IVM Podcast Network. Each week, we get together from 3 different time zones, the USA, the UK, and Singapore, and we talk about things from the world of cricket, with a focus on Indian cricket. We often interview special guests from all around the world, including former cricketers and cricket media personalities. So check out Edges and Sledges, the cricket podcast, now on the IVM network.
Hey guys, this is me, Eva Bhatt, your host for the podcast 9XM Soundcast. This podcast is produced by India's largest music network, 9X Media. We have been catering music and you have been enjoying. And now we bring you a podcast where music inspires. Every week, I interact with some of the best minds from the music industry to understand their creative discipline. Every new episode will feature artists who will share inspiring notes from their journey, some valuable tips for budding artists. So do subscribe to the podcast where music inspires. Enjoy a brand new episode of 9XM Soundcast every Tuesday on IVM Podcast app or website or wherever you get your podcast from.